Colleen Francis. Ask any of our next speaker's clients about why they call on her services again and again, and you're likely to hear a common refrain. She delivers results. A successful sales leader for over 20 years, she understands the challenges of selling in today's market. Clients who work with Colleen note her frank, no-nonsense approach to solving problems and addressing opportunities. Her practical strategies are designed to be readily implemented for immediate and lasting results. Best-selling author of sales books, including the recent Non-Stop Sales Boom, Colleen is an inductee in the Canadian Speaking Hall of Fame. She is recognized as one of the foremost thought leaders on the future of selling by leading publications worldwide, including being named a LinkedIn top voice for sales this year. Please join me in welcoming Colleen Francis.
Good morning. So, while that introduction was a great intro to what I do, you guys need to know who I am. And who I am is a salesperson. I come by it honestly. When I was 5, my dad took me on my days off school to sell with him. He was a paper envelope sales guy, way back then when we still used envelopes. I think I might have been the original baby needs a new pair of shoes kind of sales clothes. And he also was one of those guys, because he was a sales manager, who forced me to take my stuff door to door. Wrapping paper, poinsettias, spices, chocolate, whatever it was that we had to sell to get to band camp or my soccer outings, I had to do that door to door. He just refused to take it to work for me. And so I put myself through university as a salesperson. I had one summer where I drove a forklift. I loaded trucks with shingles, roofing materials. I got very buff because I was terrible and I was spilling them all the time. But when I left university, I actually started a career in sales, and I grew up in one of those households where my parents embraced my sales career. Nobody was disappointed that I didn't go to law school or get a med degree. I had a poli-sci degree, actually, in Canadian history and Canadian politics, so I didn't have much choice. But everything I had as a kid, my childhood, came because of a great sales career. And so I come by it honestly, and I tell you this because my genuine passion for our business is because I am, at my core, a salesperson. And as you heard in my little preview there, I do have a great fear for the work that we do. And that is, if we are not careful, you, I, all of us, if we are not careful, we're going to see a decreasing effect in our outbound efforts. Your quotas are going up, right? I've never met a single salesperson in the 25 years, 30 years that I've been doing this that has had a down quota. Our quotas are going up. And if we're not careful, we're going to have to do more work every single day in order to hit that quota. And who has more time in their day? Anyone? I certainly don't. So the good news is we can change the course of direction. We don't have to take the bust cycle. We can improve it, but we have to understand what's going on in the market today, and use it to our advantage. So let's start with some of the facts. Trust is down. The Adelson Trust Barometer says that the trust between salespeople and buyer is down 38% in the marketplace today. I mean, we've always had a contentious relationship with buyers, right? They've never really liked us. We've always been kind of someone they've had to talk to. But right now, they really dislike us. And there's 2 major reasons why they're treating us as vendors, and they're trying not to engage with us. One, they're busy. I mean, we're in a really unique situation in the US right now. There are more job openings than there are people looking for work. So I would venture a guess that almost every single one of your buyers has an empty desk and an empty computer beside them, and they're doing the work of that guy or that girl, right? So they're busy. They don't have time to talk to us. But number 2, we have what I like to call the Amazonification effect of our B2B world. Now, you might not compete with Amazon. Your products might not be for sale on Amazon, but you gotta bet that every single one of your buyers is affected by Amazon. Now, Anthony said yesterday, hey, how many people get 3 Amazon packages delivered to their house a week? And I'm sitting in the back of the room and thinking, a week? How about a day? Right? My buying behavior is dramatically affected by the fact that I can think about what I want, order it, and have it delivered in an hour. And if I can order shoes that way, if I can order toilet paper that way, if I can order protein bars that way, I can order camera equipment that way, I can order computer equipment that way, I can order business-to-business products that way. And so while you might not be affected by that now, the buyers that are moving through the cycle that you are going to be selling to in the next year to 5 years to 10 years are going to expect that kind of service from you, which drives trust down in the marketplace because they don't need us. So we have to be careful about this. The other thing we have to look at is what's causing or what happens when buyers don't want to use us. And what they do is they hide from us. I honestly believe that the selling environment right now is a wait, hurry up environment. They're spending 3/4 of the time that they have to make a decision about our products on their own, researching, talking to friends, talking to peers, being at events like this, trying to figure out on their own what the right solutions are so that then they can call the people that they feel that they trust the most to deliver them, because they don't want us to come in and pitch to them. Buyers want control, right? They're taking control from us and saying, I'm smart enough to figure this out on my own. And once I've figured out what I'm going to do, then I will engage with people who I think can help. Now, this is very different than some of the stats you may have seen where buyers are, 58, 63, whatever the number is, % of the way through the buying cycle. I don't believe that at all. What I'm saying here is if they have 100 days to spend trying to make a decision about a product, they're spending 75% of that time, 75 days with others, and 25 days with us. Here's the good news. You can insert yourself into every one of those others' conversations. You actually can be involved in 100% of the buying process if you use new and different outbound techniques. And here's the secret. This is what the top sellers are doing with my clients every day, is they realize now that outbound isn't a singular process. Outbound is a ubiquitous process. It's no longer about making a single call to a single person to get a single conversation and make a single sale. It's about being everywhere all of the time and affecting everybody in this buying arrangement. Make sense? Okay, so let's see how we can do this. Oops, am I hitting the right buttons? Ooh, there we go. Okay, a couple of facts that you need to know. First of all, for the majority of salespeople, 58% is what you need a new business to hit your targets. So 58% of your overall target is going to come from brand new business, which is the hardest business to secure, right? The rest is going to come from things like existing customers, upsell, cross-sell, run rate, backlog, depending on where you're at. Now, everybody is different here. I've got clients in the commodity markets, for example, who only 10% of their business is new every year. And I've got clients in software as a service, SaaS markets, where 90, 95, 100% of their business is new every year. I don't care what your number is. I just want you to know it. Because the best salespeople are data scientists. You have to be geeky about the numbers in this business. Because the more intimate you are about the numbers, the better chance you have of hitting your targets. We talk a lot about the science and the art of selling. And everyone loves to talk about the art, the right words to use, the right mindset, the right way to engage with people, being nice, being friendly, all those things. And that's great. But if you don't understand your numbers, you will never be successful because you will either underwork or overwork. In most cases, underwork, because we overestimate our ability to close. And 31%, here's what really freaks me out about selling. I have been selling since the 80s. And closing rates haven't changed. 31%. Yeah, 29, 35. On average, globally, closing rates have stayed the same for 39 years. And this is despite marketing automation, artificial intelligence, SDRs, outsourced cold calling, email marketing, trade shows. It doesn't matter how much marketing we seem to throw at our market our closing ratios stay the same. And I think that that's a little bit frightening. It looks like this. You have 10 sales that you need to make. Closing ratios roughly are 29%. It takes 34 qualified opportunities in order to close 10 sales. And for most companies, that's going to require 88 leads. Now, every business is different. But I honestly tell you, and especially if you're a leader in this room, if you manage your pipeline to these numbers, you will always hit your targets because these are the averages, and they haven't changed. But what this means to us is if your target just went from 1 million to 1.2 to 1.4 to 1.6 to 3, or if I have any of my fertilizer salesmen in the audience, 350 million, this is a big number. We start adding zeros to that number of leads, and it becomes impossible to manage. I had this interesting LinkedIn conversation with a gentleman, actually not far from here. He was looking to hire someone in Buckhead. And he said, Colleen, I'm having trouble finding someone to take this job, and I don't understand why. So I asked him about it. He said, I need them to secure 5 appointments for me a quarter. Like, dear Lord, piece of cake. 5 appointments a quarter, how hard could this be? Tell me about what it takes. He said 50 calls a day and 25 emails a day to get 5 appointments a quarter. So start doing the math. 50 calls times 20 days is 1,000 calls a month, right? I think that math is right. Times 3 months, 3,000 calls, times roughly half of that in emails, is 4,500 activities a quarter for 5 appointments. It's a 900 to 1 conversion ratio of leads to opportunities. Now, let's say he's got a 50% closing ratio. Maybe better. Let's say he closes 3 of those. What is that, about an 1,800, 2,200 to 1 closing ratio? I mean, that is worse than what Andrea said Colonel Sanders had. I mean, that guy's no quotient is through the roof. But no one would take the job. He said, I had one guy take the job. 54-year-old man in Iowa. Like, dude, it's still winter there. That's why they are taking the job. Got nowhere to go. I'm Canadian, right? I can joke about winter. But that's tough work. And it doesn't matter that he believes that his approach works. That's tough work, right? Like, I mean, I would rather go work at Tim Hortons or Dunkin' Donuts than make 4,500 calls to get 5 appointments. I just don't think that we want to do that anymore. So let's look at how we can improve this. So there's a couple of things that we could be doing, and these are the results that we're seeing with our clients in the B2B market today. 5 times greater deal size. So I think this is important because, of course, as your quotas go up, if you don't want to work as hard, we want to find bigger deals, better ideal customers. But here's where things get really interesting, because we can drive a 31% better close rate. Now, with this particular client I'm thinking of, that means their close rate went from 37% to 48%, so an 11-point jump. But at the same time, their speed of closing improved 40%. So they went from roughly 100 days as a sales cycle to about 60 days. So if you think about this, if you're driving a 5 times better deal size, and you're closing almost half of them in a shorter period of time, you're going to hit quite dramatic numbers. The interesting thing is it all just came from engagement. Now, I like this study from Rosetta because it really talks about what engagement does. And what it says is we can drive increased frequency, increased spending, and increased loyalty. So what I like about this formula of engagement that we're going to talk about is it doesn't just help you drive new sales, it's going to help you hang on to the customers that you have. And for me, Outbound is not just about creating net new business, it's also about holding on to the business that you have and growing it. Because far too many companies practice corporate promiscuity. They're jumping around all the time trying to find the bright new shiny object, but they're not paying attention to the gold that's in their pipeline. This is all about content and volume. So you guys need to know that research is being done whether you're paying attention to it or not. Your buyers are online doing research, right? Somewhere between 94% of them all the time and 55% of them. Now here, I see a lot of people taking pictures, and you're welcome to do that, but I'm also going to give you this. The slides are all available to you. I'm happy to send them to you, but you have to do this for me. Everything that we talk about today on all of the speakers and everything that the speakers talked about yesterday works. I know that to be true, but you have to implement. And if you are willing to send me an email or a LinkedIn request or a Facebook message and tell me what you're planning to implement differently as a result of being here for 2 days, I will send you these slides. Sound good? Okay, implement. It's important. The other thing, the piece of research that I think is really interesting is social media. Now, I know that people have stood up here and said social selling is not selling. And I know that there's managers in the audience who say, oh, God, everyone's just hanging around on social media, not doing anything. But I will tell you this. While it's not the place that you're going to make the transaction, consummate your relationship, so to speak, get the money, it is the place these days that you're going to start the engagement. And this is where ubiquity can be incredibly powerful and profitable for you. But you've got to have a formula. And we do this by simply talking about the power of 3. This is really quick, really easy, and highly profitable. So I want you to think about high-value content. High-value content that's unique in your marketplace that your clients can learn from. You know, I kind of think about sellers these days as, in a sense, almost like reverse Ponzi scheme. Instead of taking from everyone below us, we have to give so much value to them that they say, man, I learned so much from Colleen for free. Just imagine what will happen if I start paying her. So you need to create high-value posts. Think about it this way. My clients find that people are coming to them and they're searching for things. How do I? Right? I mean, that's what we use Google for, right? Why am I feeling this way? How do I fix my car? Why is my email? You know, I mean, that's what we're searching for. And so you need to think about your business. How do I? What are people searching for? Those of you in highly regulated industries, large businesses where you might have strong marketing departments, you can just take their content. I know that not all of us are in a position to create our own content, and that's fine. Take what your marketing department gives you, cut it into chunks, put one sentence up there, but post something of high value every single day that's unique. Show people that you're a thought leader in your own space. Number 2, comment on your customers or your prospects' posts with valuable input. Ask a question, congratulate them. Show them that you are listening to them. You know, so many people will say to me, oh, Colleen, I don't want to stalk around my clients' social media sites. If they weren't posting, right? If they don't post, they don't want to be found. If they're posting, they want people to pay attention to them. It's a desperate cry for help. Look at me. Please pay attention to us. And when you do, they notice. And they say, oh, it's so nice. Thank you for reaching out to me. Thank you. And you become now known to them. Remember I talked about trust at the beginning, down 38%. One of the studies that I saw, which I do believe to be true because I see my clients do this all the time, is something like a high percentage, 94, 93% of executives say they won't take a call from a stranger. They just won't return the call. Okay, that's fine. We need to make calls to executives in order to get conversations. How do we appear not as a stranger? We build a relationship with them where they're at. My rule is not whether I like the media or not. It's that I need to be where my customers are. And if your customers are on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or in this room, if they're at their association, if they're hanging out at the coffee shop, if they're at 4-H, you have to be there because that's where they are getting their information. So we want to comment with valuable input. And then lastly, we want to share third-party material. So what does this look like? Well, it could be you share their content. I do a lot of work in the oil industry, and I think it's really fascinating because Emirates, National Oil Company, is building all of their gas stations in Dubai on solar power. Now, this is really innovative and kind of counterintuitive, right? So I share that. because I think it's fascinating, and lots of my other clients would be interested. An oil company doing solar? Wow, unique and different. So you could share that. Companies use social platforms for all of their press releases. Your buyers, your prospects, the Wall Street Journal, whatever news sources people are using, share that content and add your commentary. Why? Because your buyers want to know that you actually have thoughts about the industry and the business that can be valuable for them. And if you're hiding, they can't find you. How many of you would ever go to a new resort, location, hotel, restaurant that had no online presence? You are putting your life in your hands. Am I going to a 5-star resort in the Caribbean, or am I going to a trailer park? You have no idea, right? So why would you expect your clients to engage with you, to actually pick up the phone, respond to an email, have a meeting with you without some kind of trusted source, whether it be a referral or an online engagement with you first? We have to prove that we're worthy of their time. They're busy. So we do this 3 things a day, every day, multiplied by 3 kinds of media. You have no idea really where your best leads are going to come from. Are they going to come from LinkedIn? Are they going to come from Facebook? Are they going to come from Twitter? Are they going to come from an association networking site? Are they going to come from a blog? Are they going to come from your email marketing? Are they going to come from your own website, or are they going to come from your own efforts? The biggest challenge we have is there's so many options these days, right? I mean, I started my sales career, my post-university sales career, in the life insurance business, life and disability insurance. My CRM was a Naga hide-covered shoebox. If I got angry, as I did often, and frustrated, it just fell on the floor, and my whole year was shot because I couldn't remember what went where. It was the original blue screen of death from Microsoft, right? But it was easier to find prospects because I had one source, the white pages. Do you even remember what that is anymore, right? I would open it. I'd come into work at 8 o'clock at night because that's when people were home and I could make my cold calls. And I would sit there, oh, it feels like an M day. And so I would just open and I'd start calling the M's. I mean, you guys probably have lived through it, right? I mean, thank goodness we're not in that environment anymore. The challenge is we are spoiled for choice and our customers are everywhere. We can't say I only do referrals, or I only make cold calls, or I only go to networking events, because the answer these days is C, all of the above. And the biggest hurdle that I see, especially mature salespeople make, is they say, that social media stuff is stupid. I don't like it. I'm not going to be there. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine, but 74% of your clients are in that platform. And if you're not there, then they can't find you. And if they can't find you and start to develop a relationship, even if you don't know they're there, they will not return your call. And this is all about warming up the relationship. So what you're doing here is solving 2 problems that we have in sales. The first is external ubiquity, which means in this marketplace, we have to be seen to be everywhere, all of the time, doing everything. People need to feel like, you know what? I see you everywhere, and so I should do business with you. My doctor said to me the other day, I walked in for an appointment, he's like, Colleen, I don't exist on social media, and I see you on social media. I'm like, yes, my work is done. I am omnipresent. I am ubiquitous. People have to feel like you are the powerhouse in your industry, so they feel compelled to want to do business with you. And that's what external ubiquity is all about. It also solves the internal ubiquity problem that I see many salespeople have. How many of you hate gatekeepers? You love them? No. Right? Gatekeepers have been vexing us since the dawn of time. Gatekeepers and voicemail. And you know, I do a lot of deep analysis of pipelines because I am, at my core, a sales nerd. And here's what I notice. 100% of the deals that are lost in the pipelines that I review have 2 or less contacts active associated with that opportunity. And 100% of the deals that I see as won have 4 or more contacts active in the opportunity. We lose deals because we don't talk to enough people. And what I love about social platforms as a way of warming up the opportunity is it gives us a really easy entry into a broad range of contacts. In our business today, there is no such thing as selling to the top officer or going left or going right. It's going everywhere. We have to go high, low, wide, and deep. And it doesn't matter whether you are selling one product, a widget, a commoditized product. My fertilizer guy is selling to a farmer, or if you are selling deep, complicated, embedded systems to the largest organizations of the world, there is always more than one influence in the sales cycle. And salespeople create gatekeepers. The gatekeeper doesn't exist until we allow them to exist. And the reason we do that is because we don't go wide and deep. I have seen more salespeople lose more business because they've only had one contact inside the account. I have never seen a salesperson lose a piece of business because they have too many contacts inside the account. And I think my industry as a consultant has done a great disservice to salespeople out there by encouraging them to make quality calls as opposed to quality and quantity of calls. It's not about making just a good call. It's about making a great call to a variety of people in order to find the right opportunity. So that's what the internal ubiquity is. Interesting story. Client of mine sells lubricants. They've been trying to get in to the factory floor of a large manufacturer for years. This manufacturer makes disc brakes that go on some of the biggest trucking companies in the world. They can't get the maintenance guy to return his call. They can't get the shop foreman to return his call. They can't get the maintenance head. Any of the guys that they would normally sell to, their ideal customer, nobody will return their calls. They're happy with their current supplier, right? In a marketplace where you're in a competitive replacement business, it's really hard to get the attention of someone who's happy when they're buying a good quality product. They start having a conversation with the customer service team, right? Who would think to talk to customer service? Customer service says to them, we're about to lose our biggest customer, the largest truck manufacturer in the world, because of a problem with our brakes. Millions of dollars a year. The lubricant sales guy is thinking, you know what? That's a manufacturing problem. I know exactly what's going on. It's a failure in the process caused by an inferior product that we can solve. And the VP of customer service and he march onto the factory floor to talk to the guy about the fact they're about to lose a major customer. They win the business. Now, who would have thought that customer service was the way in to a manufacturing sale on a lubricant product? No one. But this sales guy was smart enough to be building wide and deep relationships across the organization, just looking for a problem or looking for something they could improve with the customer. And they would never have found it had they been stuck with the gatekeeper or their old version of an ideal customer. I don't believe in ideal customers anymore. I don't believe that there's a single person inside a single organization who controls your access or controls the buying cycle, because I believe that we're all being influenced by everyone around us. And I know we love to talk about the disruptive nature of the millennial generation, and most of my clients love to beat them up, but you've got to understand one thing that is super important about them as we're moving through the buying continuum. They are collaborative. They talk and they share and they collaborate and they demand it internally, and they're going to demand it from us. And as you start to mature inside your organization, and as you start to sell more to a growing number of companies, you're going to find that this collaborative effort is critical, and that's going to require internal ubiquity. You will always sell more by selling to more people. So if we look at this then, and we think about content and volume, as we just talked about, so we're producing high-value content to a huge volume of people. We accelerate this through speed. So here's an interesting case study for you. 2 companies in the same industry. One of them produces 200 leads per month, okay? So they're getting 200 leads per month. Their sales team has an outbound service level agreement that they call them within 48 hours of that lead coming in. So 2 days, not so bad. They have a 1.3% close ratio on those 200 leads. It's kind of average. Company 2 also gets 200 leads. 1 hour service level agreement. They're required to call. You finish a sales call, you get in your car, you make that call. Close rate, 22%. Outbound is not just about making your own outbound calls. It is about following up with those leads that are in your pipeline. That speed represents a 17 times improvement in close rate. I mean, what would you do with 17 times more business? All based on a single change in that speed. I read a report from InsideSales.com not too long ago that said that 75% of all new business comes to the first vendor who calls them back. And that doesn't surprise me at all. Why? I said it earlier, the Amazonification of sales. Right? We have all been trained on Amazon that we don't need to plan in advance. Right? You're standing in your kitchen, you're in the bathroom, you're at home, and you think, oh, I need that, and you order it, and it shows up in an hour. Speed. That is coming to every one of your businesses today. That 17 times closing rate that we talked about is a business-to-business environment. They're not competing against Amazon. Amazon does not sell their products, but they're being dramatically affected by the mindset of the buyer. The mindset of the buyer is a critical thing for us to be paying attention to. I wanted to spend some time with follow-up because I believe there's a lot. It's kind of funny. Things have come up over the course of the last couple of days that all are related. You know, there's a lot that's similar between sales and dating, and the fine line between persistence and stalking is one of them. But the world is ruled by people who follow up. And Andrea talked about this yesterday in terms of the number of no's that you need before you get a yes. It's not even the number of no's that you get. It's even the number of follow-ups that are completed. And most salespeople give up way too early, not because they hear no, but because they get no response. They're being ghosted, to use modern language. What we're finding in this marketplace is, first of all, we do need to have multiple influencers, right? So there's multiple people involved in the sales cycle. And I will tell you this, if you're stuck in a sale, it's probably because you're talking to too few people, or maybe not the decision maker. So we need to drive more influencers. We also need a more aggressive follow-up call pattern. I can't tell you when to give up, right? It's a common question I get from my clients. When should I give up? When should I toss this deal? I can't really tell you when because it will depend on how ideal that customer is for you, what type of business you're in. But I can tell you that 2 voicemails and 2 emails a week will drive a 50% improvement in callback rates. I'm going to give you the formula in just a second. And then, of course, we need to have at least 7 activities. Most salespeople give up after about 3 or 4. Guy's not calling them back. They're like, heck with him. I'm not going to call him back. I'm not going to waste his time, my time. He obviously doesn't feel interested in our products. I don't want to stalk him. And so they give up way sooner than 7. But this is the way the formula looks that works to drive 50 to 80% callback rate. Let's just call it day 1. We have a voicemail. Person doesn't return your call. We immediately send an email. Immediately. When I say immediate, I mean you hang up the phone and you send an email. Sorry, I missed you, right? We wait a couple of days and we do it again. If they still don't return your call, we wait a couple of days and we do it again. And if they still don't return your call, we wait a few more days and we do it again. Sound fair? Okay, if you're going to have good outbound strategies, you have to follow up. This is not a one call and leave. You have invested time, energy, and money in these opportunities, and you need to give them a fair chance. Now, here's where this gets interesting. Because after that, you need to take a break. Just let them cool off a little bit, and then start the process over again. And after that 1-week break, if you still don't get a return call, then you need to take a 2-week break. and you need to start the process all over again. And if you still don't get a return call, you can take a 3-week break, and then you can start the process all over again. There we go. And only at this point, given buyer behavior, if they don't call you back, you can start the breakup process. Okay? My contention in sales is that you should be following up enough so that ultimately you will make the decision. Trust me, it is far nicer to do the breaking up than it is to be broken up on, right? But you can only do it after you've given the prospect a fair chance. I mean, I don't like this, but I'll tell you that it's true. CEOs tell me all the time, I don't ever return a salesperson's call until they've tried at least 5 or 6 times, because if it's not important enough for them to follow up, it's not important enough for me to take the call. Now, I think that's manipulative. I don't think that's really nice, but it is what it is. It's what's happening in the marketplace. And so a rigorous follow-up approach is critical. Many of you work in finite markets, right? I work with clients who don't have new customers sprouting up all over. The only customers they have are those customers who are already buying products and services from another company. They're in a competitive replacement market, as many of you are. And if that's the case, you have to invest time and energy, not just in your outbound efforts to new prospects, but also to your outbound efforts in following up with those prospects who haven't said yes yet. In my books, the world record for follow-up comes from a woman in Vermont. She worked in the feed and seed business for cattle, for dairy farmers. She's got a finite market. There's only so many dairy farms in Vermont, and they're not growing. They're shrinking, right? 25 years she called on a customer. The biggest dairy farm in Vermont. Every year, every month, she baked him fudge. And she called on him, and she called on him, and she called on him until the customer that he was buying from, the vendor, the supplier he was buying from, screwed up. But she was patient. She called on him for 25 years, and she was rewarded with a huge opportunity. Now, I am really hoping that you don't have to wait 25 years. 80% of people will get back to you in this 4-week cycle. If you do it correctly, do you know what? Sometimes they get back to you and they say no. But that's okay. Why? Yeah, you get your time back, right? Do you ever find yourself chasing business that you realize you shouldn't have? We all do this. What I love about salespeople is we're competitive. I'm a highly competitive person, and I will admit it gets in my own way sometime. My husband is my business partner. We were bidding on a really large contract a number of years ago. We spent 1 full week, 40 hours, doing this stupid RFP for this huge contract. And on Friday afternoon, after it got submitted, he poured some champagne. I said, "Why are you pouring champagne?" He said, "Well, we're either going to win it or we're going to get our life back." And I said to him, "I don't want the business." And he said, "We can't win." And we realized we had spent 40 hours of collective time working on an RFP we didn't want to win, nor could we win, because my competitive drive got in the way and I was too proud to say, "Bad business for us." We do that all the time. Every single one of you has an opportunity in your pipeline that you really should break up with, but you just can't because you want to win more than anything. And I love that about us. But ultimately, you need to free up that time and spend it with someone who wants to do business with you. Because think about it this way. Salespeople will say to me, "Oh, but Colleen, it's only 5 minutes. I can just pick up the phone, I can send an email, no skin off my nose, I'm sitting at my desk anyways." That is true. But it's also true that every minute you spend with someone who doesn't want to be with you is a minute you're not spending with someone who does. And people who want to spend time with you want your attention. They're a little bit needy, and that's okay. They want to feel the love from you. And if you're ignoring them because you're trying to make this person love you over here, they will go away. We need to put our time and our energy with those people who actually want to spend time with us, not those that were overly competitive and thinking about, oh, I can make you love me. I know I can. Because it's just going to turn off all the other people. And again, you can read more about this. I've got the details on my website, and I'm happy to send you the details of this slide and even some of the scripting that we have that goes along with it. So a couple of things as we're wrapping up together. 18 months. This is a really harrowing statistic. Now, I'm only talking to a small portion of the room today. Right now, I mean. 18 months is the average tenure of a new sales leader inside a corporation in North America. 18 months before they either get frustrated and leave or underperform and get fired. Why? Because unfortunately, as sales leaders, we enable bad sales behavior. All poor selling behavior starts with sales leadership. Either we don't train them to get the skills up, or we don't hold them accountable for the skills they should be developing. We let them get away with poor performance. Studies come out all the time that say, 60% of people are hitting target or 55% of people are hitting target, and everyone blames lazy, poor salespeople. I don't. I blame leadership. If your football team or hockey team or basketball team goes the entire season and only is about 50%, who gets fired first? The coach. You go all the way to the Super Bowl and you lose, coach doesn't get fired. But your team only performs at 50% or 30%, the coach is the first to go. It's the coach's responsibility. Sales leaders will say to me, well, I can't let him go because he's been with me for 35 years. Or, well, having someone in the desk is better than no one. Absolutely not. Right? The opportunity cost that you are losing by not having top performers in the organization far outweighs having somebody in the desk. And it's simply because we don't recruit effectively. But this is important for us to recognize because I believe that sales leaders' job is to put 100% of their people at 100% of their target 100% of their time. There's really no excuse for it. Think about it. I cannot think of another profession, accounting. Imagine. Well, we only sent 60% of the invoices that we should have this month, but that's okay. You all can keep your jobs. We only delivered 60% of the loads that we were supposed to. My guys dropped the other 40% on the highway, but that's okay. It doesn't happen in other professions, but it happens in ours. And there's no excuse for it. What we do is not rocket science. Have conversations, develop objectives, measure success, present solutions. It's not rocket science, right? The implementation and accountability is where outbound selling succeeds. Well, I'll tell you that I have worked with a lot of organizations with a lot of methodologies. They all work. Every single sales methodology that I have seen that is legal, moral, and ethical work, if they are implemented. Sales methodologies that are not implemented or not implemented correctly don't work. Where does implementation and accountability start? With the sales manager. It's their job to make sure that all of these skills are being implemented on a regular basis. You invest your time to be here. If you do nothing different as a result of being here, it was not just time wasted, but money wasted. So here's my challenge to you. As I said, it's not rocket science, right? Everything I know that I'm talking about, that Victor is going to be talking about, that Andrew was talking about, that Anthony, that Mike, that Mark, that Jeb, all of us works if you choose to implement it. And it's not about ability. I have never been in front of a salesperson, a sales audience, a company that is incapable of doing the work that is required for us to succeed. I have met thousands who are not willing. And so the choice is really up to you. If you're committed to improving your outbound efforts, just implement. And I promise you this, you will succeed. Here's my challenge for you. You send me a LinkedIn request. Where's Luigi, by the way? There you are. Yes. Thank you for your LinkedIn request this morning. You send me a message like Luigi did this morning and tell me what you're planning to implement, and I will do two things for you. I will send you a copy of my book, and I will send you a copy of these slides, because I'm committed to making sure that you actually do something different as a result of being here today. Enjoy the rest of your time here. I look forward to staying in touch, and happy selling.